Halloween was everything to me when I was 10. Those October weeks felt electric. Planning costumes, stringing up decorations, transforming our house into something out of a nightmare. My dad was just as obsessed. He'd bring home boxes of gore, realistic cobwebs that clung to your fingers, massive spiders with fur you could feel, skeletal figures that swayed in the breeze, and his pride and joy, a fog machine that turned our yard into something from a graveyard. That year, my friends James, 14, and Curls, 12, came over to help. We were determined to make our house the one parents would point at while driving by, the one little kids would dare each other to approach. The afternoon sun was fading when I first noticed him. James was up on the ladder, wrestling with a ghost decoration in the oak tree. Curls and I were layering cobwebs over the bushes, laughing as the synthetic strands stuck to our clothes. That's when the temperature seemed to drop. You know that feeling when someone's watching you? The hairs on your neck standing up? I turned. A man stood at the edge of our property, not walking past, not checking his phone, just standing there, staring, mid-30s maybe, completely average. Jeans, plain jacket, forgettable face, except for his smile. It stretched too wide across his face, showing too many teeth, like he was wearing a mask that didn't quite fit. "Wow," he said, taking a step onto our lawn without invitation. "You guys are doing a great job, getting ready for the big night." Something in my stomach twisted, but I was raised to be polite. "Yeah, we're trying to be the spookiest house." His eyes weren't on me anymore. They were cataloging, scanning our windows, counting them, looking at our door locks, studying the layout of our yard like he was memorizing it. "I bet you'll get a lot of candy." His voice had this weird sing-song quality. "You planning on going trick-or-treating around here? What's your route?" Before I could answer, my dad appeared. His hand landed on my shoulder, protective, firm. His body moved between me and the stranger like a shield. "Can I help you?" Dad's voice had that dangerous calm that meant business. The mask slipped. Just for a second, the man's smile flickered, and I saw something cold underneath. "Just admiring the decorations. Your boy here is a hard worker." He looked past my dad, directly at me. "Make sure you get lots of full-size candy bars, kid." "Time to go inside, son." Dad didn't take his eyes off the man. As I walked toward the door, I glanced back. The friendly facade was gone completely. The man's face had gone blank. Empty eyes, tight mouth. He stared at my dad with something that looked like rage, like Dad had stolen something from him. Then he turned and walked away, but slow, too slow, like he wanted us to remember him. 2 nights later, I woke up to a crash from the front yard. My bedroom window overlooked the street. Heart hammering, I crept to the blinds and peeked through. The streetlights cast everything in sick yellow, making our Halloween decorations look genuinely sinister. The scarecrow Dad had propped by the porch was lying on its side, collapsed like something had violently shoved it. Then I saw him, the same man, standing in our yard, in the middle of the night, just standing there behind the oak tree, partially hidden in shadow. He wasn't moving, wasn't doing anything, just staring up at our house, at our windows, at my window. Our eyes met through the glass. I jerked back, pulse exploding in my ears. I ran down the stairs, stumbling, nearly falling, into the living room where Dad was watching TV. "Dad!" I gasped. "That man is in our yard, right now." He moved faster than I'd ever seen, grabbed the heavy flashlight from the hall and threw open the front door. I watched from the doorway as he swept the beam across every corner of our property, checking behind trees, the sides of the house, the bushes. "Nothing. There's no one out there," he said, but his face was pale. He locked the door with shaking hands. "The scarecrow fell over, that's all. Maybe the wind knocked it down." We both knew there was no wind. October 31st, Halloween. The excitement burned through my fear. James and Curls came over after school. I was a ninja, James a werewolf, Curls a vampire. As darkness fell, we grabbed our pillowcases and hit the streets. Block after block, we walked, farther from home than we'd ever gone before, chasing rumors of houses that gave out full-size candy bars. Our bags grew heavy. The streets grew unfamiliar. We were approaching a dark house, porch light off, single carved pumpkin flickering, when a voice cut through the night from across the street. "Hey kids! Over here! I've got the good stuff!" We all turned. He stepped out of the shadows of a driveway. No house lights behind him, just darkness. He was holding a big bowl and wearing that same too-wide smile. The same man. "Come on, don't be shy," he coaxed, taking a step toward us. Curls and I started forward. "It's Halloween, that's what you do." But James grabbed both our arms hard enough to bruise. His voice was shaking. "Don't. We need to go. Now." The man saw us hesitate. The smile vanished like someone had flipped a switch. He dropped the bowl, it was empty, just a prop, and started walking toward us. Fast. Too fast. "Run!" James screamed. We bolted. His footsteps pounded behind us, getting closer. Heavy breathing, the jingle of keys or change in his pockets. Curls darted between two houses and vanished. James pulled ahead. I looked back. He was focused only on me, ignoring the others completely. His face was twisted with rage, with hunger, with something I didn't have words for. He was reaching for me, his hand outstretched, fingers grasping. He caught my costume. The fabric tightened around my neck. I was being pulled backward, stumbling. "Get away from my son!" Dad came out of nowhere, appearing from a side street like an avenging angel. The man released me instantly. I hit the pavement hard, and for one terrible second, they locked eyes. The man looked at Dad, then back at me, like he was calculating whether he could take us both. Then he ran, sprinted into the darkness like something was chasing him. Dad pulled me up, crushed me against his chest. James and Curly's emerged from hiding, all of us crying. On the walk home, Dad held my hand so tight it hurt. He'd gotten worried when we didn't come back. Called James's house. No answer. Panicked, drove out looking. A neighbor mentioned seeing kids in our costumes heading toward that neighborhood. If that neighbor hadn't been outside, if Dad hadn't found us those 30 seconds earlier, we never saw that man again. But I'll never forget his face, the way he looked at me, like I was something he'd been planning for, like he'd been waiting for Halloween. Story 2. The Pumpkin Patch. Last Halloween was supposed to be fun. I'm Mark, 17, living in a quiet Chicago suburb where everyone knows everyone. The kind of place where you don't lock your doors, where nothing bad ever happens. That night, our neighbor Mr. Taylor was having a get-together. Nothing fancy, candy, games, mostly older folks. I went because my parents pushed me and I didn't have plans yet. That's where I met Jake. He said he was 19, some distant relative of Mr. Taylor's. Tall, easy smile, wearing a plain hoodie and jeans. We clicked immediately, talked about Call of Duty, laughed at the same dumb jokes. He seemed like someone who could be a real friend. We exchanged numbers before I left. The next day, my mom was on me about getting a pumpkin. Dad was stuck at work, drowning in spreadsheets like always. "Just handle it," Mom said. I mentioned it to Jake via text, and he replied instantly. "I know a great spot. Farm on Country Road 47. Huge pumpkins, super cheap. Want to go? Why not?" It was 6 p.m., Halloween evening, still light out. I had Mom's old Ford truck. We drove off, talking about school, his gap year plans, normal stuff. The road got dark fast. No streetlights once you leave the suburbs, just fields and skeletal trees. Then the fog rolled in, thick and wrong, like something you'd see in a horror movie. My headlights barely penetrated it. The road disappeared into white nothing. "This is crazy," I muttered, slowing to a crawl. "Maybe we should turn back." "Nah, we're close," Jake said. but something in his voice sounded off, rehearsed. The farm appeared through the fog like a ghost ship. Old wooden sign, Miller's Pumpkin Patch. But no lights, no cars, no people. Just rows of pumpkins emerging from the mist like tombstones. Where is everyone? My hands tightened on the wheel. Jake shrugged, probably closing up. Wait here, I'll check around back. He disappeared into the fog before I could argue. 5 minutes, then 10. The silence was oppressive. I pulled out my phone. No signal. The fog pressed against the windows. In my rearview mirror, I could swear I saw shapes moving between the pumpkins. When I looked directly, nothing was there. Then Jake came back, but not alone. A man walked beside him, maybe late 40s, wearing overalls and flannel. Typical farmer, except his smile was too wide, too eager. His eyes didn't match his mouth. "Hey there, kid." His voice was too loud. "Jake here says you need a pumpkin. Come on in, I've got the best ones inside the barn." Inside? My stomach dropped. The pumpkins were right there in the field. "Inside the barn?" I repeated. "Yeah, come on, I'll show you." He gestured toward this decrepit wooden building I hadn't noticed before. Doors hanging crooked, windows dark. The fog seemed to avoid it, like even the weather didn't want to touch it. Then came the questions. "You live around here? What's your family's name? Got any siblings? What does your dad do?" It wasn't small talk. He was interrogating me, taking notes in his head. I glanced at Jake. He stood there, hands in his pockets, watching me with this blank expression, like he was waiting to see what I'd do. From somewhere near the barn, I heard a door slam. Or was it a metal cage? Were there more people back there? "Come on, it's just inside," the farmer pressed. His voice had an edge now, impatient. Every instinct screamed, "Run." "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone and pretending to check a message. "My mom's texting. She's waiting. I really need to get back. Can we just grab one from out here?" The farmer and Jake exchanged a look. Fast, meaningful, like they were speaking in a language I wasn't supposed to understand. "Sure, kid. Take your pick." We grabbed a pumpkin from the edge of the field. I paid cash with shaking hands and drove off. The entire ride back, Jake was silent. That easy, friendly vibe was gone. He stared out the window like he was calculating something. I dropped him at Mr. Taylor's and went straight home. Later that night, we threw a small party at my house. Just 8 of us. Old school friends, pizza, horror movies. I invited Jake because, I don't know, part of me still wanted to believe he was genuine. He showed up around 8 p.m., blending in fine. We played games, told ghost stories, normal Halloween party stuff. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his face unreadable. "Be right back," he muttered, slipping outside. 5 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I opened it, expecting a late trick-or-treater. Instead, a man pushed past me. Tall, black jacket, and wearing one of those hyper-realistic silicone masks. A human face, but wrong. Too perfect. Eyes blank, mouth frozen in a pleasant smile. "Whoa, this is a private party," I started. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a gun. Time stopped. Everything went silent except for the blood rushing in my ears. The gun was black, heavy, real. He pointed it at us. Everyone. Wallets, phones, jewelry, now. He tossed a duffel bag on the floor. Put it in the bag. Panic. Pure, liquid panic. My hands shook as I pulled out my iPhone. Around me, my friends were crying, fumbling with their wallets. Leah unclasped her necklace with trembling fingers. Ben couldn't get his watch off. That's when I noticed Jake. He was in the corner, tossing his wallet into the bag like everyone else. But he wasn't scared. No wide eyes, no shaking hands. He looked calm, bored even, like he'd done this before. The robber even took Jake's stuff, but it felt theatrical, staged. The guy grabbed the bag and backed out, vanishing into the night. We locked the doors, called 911. 2 squad cars arrived within minutes, lights painting our house in red and blue. "We have outdoor cameras," I told the officers, my voice still shaking. My dad installed them. They checked the footage, clear as day. When Jake stepped outside for his phone call, he met the masked man, without the mask yet. They talked, heads close together, planning. The man waited in the shadows while Jake came back inside. Then he knocked. It was all planned. They arrested Jake on the spot. He didn't even seem surprised. At the station, he confessed everything. The farmer at the pumpkin patch, his Uncle Carl with a record for theft and assault. They'd been running this scam for months. Jake would befriend suburban kids at parties or gatherings, gain their trust, scope out their houses. The farm trip was supposed to get me inside the barn, where they'd overpower me, steal my wallet, keys, maybe even hold me for ransom. When I didn't bite, they moved to Plan B, the party robbery. Police raided the farm. It wasn't a real pumpkin patch anymore, just a front. They found our stolen items in the barn, plus stuff from at least 6 other robberies. Carl had the gun loaded. They found zip ties, duct tape, a soundproofed room in the basement. We got our stuff back. But something in me changed that night. I double-check locks now. I don't trust easy friendships. I think about what would have happened if I'd gone inside that barn. The fog, the isolation, no cell signal, no witnesses. Mr. Taylor had no idea Jake was dirty. He apologized over and over, tears in his eyes. That Halloween taught me the scariest monsters don't wear masks. Well, sometimes they do, but underneath, they're just people. People who see you as a target. People who can smile while planning your nightmare. I still have that pumpkin. Can't bring myself to throw it out. It sits on my porch, rotting, a reminder that sometimes the invitation to come inside is the last one you'll ever get. Story 3. The Chain Woman. When I was 11, every holiday meant packing up the car and driving 2 hours from our city to my grandparents' place in rural Ohio. The kind of town where everyone knows everyone's business, but nobody talks about the weird stuff. Like the woman who lived between my grandparents' house and my aunt's. We called her the Chain Woman. She was massive, over 6 feet tall, built like she could break you in half without trying. And she always wore these heavy logging chains around her neck. Industrial chains, the kind designed to drag felled trees. They'd clink and rattle when she moved, announcing her presence before you saw her. She'd wear stained dresses that looked like they were from the 1950s and huge work boots caked in mud. Her hair was a gray tangle, wild and uncombed. But the worst part was her eyes. They had this distant, far-away look, like she was seeing something the rest of us couldn't. The only times we saw her outside were when she was scrubbing. Not just her porch or windows. She'd scrub the actual siding of her house. With a bucket of soapy water and a stiff brush, she'd attack the walls like they were covered in blood only she could see. Rain or shine, sometimes for hours. And if she spotted us kids playing nearby, "You little brats, the devil's coming for you. He's going to drag you down to where you belong." Her voice was deep, scratchy, like gravel in a blender. It would carry across the yards, making us freeze mid-game. The adults would tell us to leave her alone. "She's just old and lonely," Mom would say. But we knew better. Her windows always had her silhouette in them, just standing there, watching, face pressed close to the glass, curtains half drawn. We never walked past her house alone, always in groups, always running. That Halloween, I was 11. We were at my grandparents' for a family gathering. Me, my cousins Jake, 13, and Sarah, 9, and some neighborhood kids. After dinner, we suited up for trick-or-treating. I wore a sheet ghost, nothing creative. The street was dark, no streetlights, just scattered porch lights creating islands of safety in an ocean of black. That's when Jake got that look. "I dare you guys to hit the Chain Woman's house. We all froze. Nobody went there. Ever. Her porch light wasn't even on. "Come on," Jake pressed. "Don't be chickens. We're in a group. What's she gonna do?" I didn't want to look weak. My heart hammered as we crept up her walkway, leaves crunching loud as gunshots under our feet. The house smelled wrong, like wet dirt and rot and something metallic underneath. Her garden beds in the back were piled high with fresh soil, way higher than normal, mounded up like something was buried underneath. Sarah reached up and rang the doorbell. Silence. Then bang, bang, heavy thuds from inside, like doors slamming or something large being dragged. The door creaked open. She towered over us, chains dangling, dress stained dark with what looked like mud, but could have been anything. And in her hands, oh God, a severed head. It was dripping. The eyes were glassy, half closed. The mouth hung open like it had been screaming. The skin looked real, pale with visible veins, ragged at the neck where it had been cut, sawed. We screamed, all of us, pure terror. We ran. I tripped on the sidewalk, felt my knee split open but didn't stop, didn't look back. We burst into my grandparents' house, crying and gasping. The adults laughed. "It's just a Halloween prop. Serves you right for bothering her." They gave us candy to calm down, but I couldn't shake it. That head didn't look fake. The weight of it in her hands, the way it moved, the smell that had wafted out, copper and spoiled meat. A month later, right after Thanksgiving, the phone rang late at night. I heard my parents talking in hushed, urgent voices. Mom was crying. The next morning, they sat me down. "Something happened at your aunt's house. The chain woman had attacked my aunt. She'd snuck up behind her in the driveway while my aunt was carrying groceries and holding my baby cousin. Looped a rope saw, the kind with handles on both ends, over my aunt's head and around her neck. Started sawing. My aunt kicked at her own door, screaming, blood everywhere. The rope bit deeper with every pull. My uncle heard, grabbed the fire poker and came running, hit the woman over and over until she collapsed. Ambulance, police. My aunt survived but needed surgery. She has a scar now, ear to ear, a jagged pink line she hides with scarves. But that wasn't the end. When police searched the chain woman's house, they found the tunnels. She'd been digging under her property for years. Deep, reinforced tunnels that snaked out from her basement and came up under my aunt's house, my grandparents' house, and the neighbors. That's why she was always in her garden, hauling up buckets of dirt at night, dumping it into those raised beds to hide it. And down in the tunnels, they found her shrine, a dirt room, candles melted into the walls, religious symbols scratched everywhere, crosses upside down, pentagrams, strange glyphs, and arranged around it like offerings, 3 severed heads, real ones, preserved in jars. They matched missing persons, drifters, hitchhikers she'd picked up over the years. The police said she'd been doing this for decades, living above her victims, keeping them. That Halloween head? It was real, fresh, matched a guy who'd gone missing the week before. We could have been next, if we'd stayed, if we'd gone inside. They tore her house down, filled in the tunnels. My aunt and uncle moved away. Couldn't stand being there. Grandparents stayed but put up fences, security cameras, motion lights. I don't visit much anymore, but sometimes at night, I think about her watching from those windows, about the tunnels spreading like veins under the earth, about how many other streets have secrets buried underneath, about how that Halloween we rang a doorbell and something answered, something that had been waiting.